here, fam. I just bumped the camera earlier. But we are here. We are live. We are large in charge. And we are men on a mission. We're on a mission. I have a mission. Hello. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. It was painted. Look at what is it? Oh, the little cute little buggies. Painted the cute little shiny metal buggies. Lo, 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 lo. Lo, 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 lo. We're in a good mood today. We're in a great mood today. It's a good day. We've had a few days to digest the new rules update and understand what those mean for the future of 40K. And reviews are mixed. Although I, honestly, cannot fathom why. Well, Lady Dragon, we did start a few minutes late. I was busy watching some other people's suffering and pain because nothing delights Big D better than watching the citizens of Chicago lament their suffering, at least during football season. La 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 la. Because as much as we are a gamer, we are also a gamer. Well, I was playing Hearthstone. That's the whole thing. Mr. Fish, I play a lot of Hearthstone. That's like my second favorite game. And it's the easy one to play while I am painting figures or making dinner or eating dinner. So I often do. Which is why Lady D likes bringing it up. Yeah, I think the update was amazing. Here's my biggest takeaway. Stuff's cheaper. Holy crap. I am looking. So here's the thing. Some of my armies, they're not performing the way I want them to. And, that's the cyclical nature of 40K. This is why you play multiple armies. If you're the guy that just wants to play but wants to have a good time and doesn't want to play the bad army, you play a couple different armies. And you play between the ones that aren't the worst. You don't always have to play the best. You just don't play the ones that are really bad. At least that's my opinion. Well, Necrons are darn good right now. A lot of fun. And they're cheap. But you know what else is cheap? And this one will bring me back to my roots. My roots. To when I came back in 8th edition. I could yank out my Death Guard. Woo! Woo! Death Guard got cheap. And they got a buff. And they got a rules update. And a clarification. Death Guard are going to be so good. Oh, they're going to be fun. Because a little clarification. in the game of 40K, you cannot apply a modifier. A modifier greater or lesser than +1 or -1. That's it. You cannot affect more than a +1 or -1 as a modifier. They have clarified that a number of the Death Guard's stat modifying plagues are not modifiers, but they are a direct effect upon a base statistic. So they stack. Oh, Death Guard. People gonna be missing because we're gonna give them a -1 to their ballistic and weapon skill. And then we're gonna put a cloud of fog to give them a -1 to hit. And then we're gonna stick them in cover. You ain't hitting us, bro. You ain't hitting me. My slow ass is gonna walk up on you and smack you. You're gonna be like, I can't see him. I can't see him. It's too stinky. That's not body odor. That is straight up tear gas coming out of them pits. And I am so pleased. And then they went and made him cheaper. For 100 points, I can drop a 20-man blob of Poxwalkers on the table. 100 points. That means if I want to be a complete maniac in a game, because Poxwalkers are considered battle line, I can, for 600 points, a little over a quarter of my points, I can put 120 Poxwalkers on the table. Toughness 4, no armor, but a 5-up feel no pain. And every time they kill something that's not a vehicle or a monster, it gets added back to their number up to their maximum points in figures. Who head's going to be able to do 120 wounds? Just mobs of them. Just it's going to be glorious. 120 Poxwalkers. 120 Poxwalkers shambling across the field. 3 Plague Burst Crawlers. Mortarion, who does a beautiful thing. You take Mortarion and you put him by them Plague Burst Crawlers, and the penalties for indirect fire are negated by his personal aura. And then he has a secondary aura that he has that will let them reroll ones on wounds. It's glorious. Boom, 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 boom. Raining fire and filth as zombies horde across the board. And I've still got about 500 points to play with, meaning I can throw down 2 squads of Terminators or 3 squads of Plague Marines. Did they take Battle Line off them? I thought they were Battle Line. No! No, you make me cry. They took it away. No! I can only run 60. That makes me sad. Oh, no. Oh, that's awful. I have to look at this now. I thought they were battle line. That ruins all my plans. Oh no, it means I'm going to have to play 600 points of Terminators and 600 points of Plague Marines. Oh, what a shame. That sucks. I thought I was going to be stupidly fun with this. Now it's only going to be ridiculously fun. Maybe I'll actually take Typhus and attach him to one of those squads. That would be hilarious. Oh, it's the Lord of Virulence I need. That's right. I need the Lord of Virulence in that list to get them to reroll ones. It's not him that does it. It's the Lord of Virulence. So you have to take the Lord of Virulence. They got rid of Battle Line. I got to see this. That makes me sad. Hang on. Infantry Nurgle Cultists. They're not. Plague Marines are Battle Line. They took away Battle Line. Oh, man. Yo, that's sad. They took that away from Grotz, too? Come on. That's bullshit. Well. Well, it just means that I'll have my Lord of Virulence hanging out with some Terminators. That's fine. Oh well. Still, 300 points to put 60 bodies on the table. That is still ridiculous. And you know the worst thing about it is I could spend another 150 instead and put 3 10-man squads of cultists down, and they can actually perform actions. You get down from there. Get down. No. No. Stupid cat. Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. I could put in some cultists, and they'll actually be able to take actions. Oh, that might be fun to actually mix my Nurgle demons in there. Especially with, I don't know, Nurglings. Don't Nurglings get like, they either get Scout or they get Infiltrator? That might be fun to throw in there. That could be fun. Throw on my Great Unclean One. Have the Great Unclean One and Mortarion hanging out. Ooh, that could be fun. Oh yeah, that I mean, yeah, with everything getting cheaper, almost everything getting cheaper, there are so many options. I mean, it's bad enough. I mean, as it is, I don't need to do the entirely disgusting Poxwalker thing, even though they do come back up, only because I'm looking at Necron Warriors, and there's a fun, ridiculously thing you can do with them, where you take a blob of 20 of them, you attach a Lord, and you put a Reanimator behind them. And even though you can't do the reanimation protocol stratagem for free anymore, you can't do it twice, you still get to do it once. And with the Reanimator and the Overlord, the Necrons become... I mean, yeah, you just grab. I don't need them to hold objectives. I just run them around and go, hey, we're gonna go here, and we're going to We're going to get you engaged on all fronts. And we're going to find you some teleport homers. And do all the dumb. Do all the dumb. Yeah, that'll be hilarious. Rami. Why? 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 Why must you crawl in there? Oh, idiot cat. Ah, you're never playing again anyhow. I love you, but you're never playing the game again. You are a commission painter, and let's just leave it at that. We know who you are. We know who you are. So, yeah, I mean, points are cheaper. I mean, I'm going to be looking back at my Marines again to see what I can fit back into my Marines army again now. How much more tanks can I get in there? How many more dudes can I get in there? How many guys with flight packs can I get in there? You know, I mean, points becoming cheaper for everything major, and putting some nerfs on hits. So they're not just like mortals anymore. I mean, that's really good. Like, instead of just acting like mortals, you know, if you put like a big hit, I mean, it's funny because for some it's fine, and for some armies it doesn't change anything, and for some armies it's all the difference in the world. When the wounds would carry over from figure to figure, you know, that sucked for like these little hordling armies because it was one big hit. And the guys that would do lots of little damage armies, they worked out for them too. But now it's going to be like, well, you're going to want to use your big guns against stuff that's appropriate and your little guns against stuff that's appropriate. And it's going to limit some options. It's going to limit some options. And that's fine. I mean, that's what it needed. I mean, it was broken. Let's not fool ourselves, folks. It was broken. And even though it affected one of my main armies, the fact that Titanic figures can no longer fire Overwatch, you know, that's a big deal. It kind of sucks for my knights, but the fact that I can fire Overwatch, you move an army, I'm gonna fire Overwatch on them from basically anywhere on the field as long as I kind of can see them. You know, that sucks for you. But understanding that was taking a huge tool away from the Eldar and their knights because they were just, you know, hi, I'm going to spit giant flamers, or not even flamers, but just giant lethal, not lethal, I forgot, the devastating wounds weapons on you because you moved that unit. I mean, it was just dumb. It was just dumb. And having these knights just walk up, these wraith knights, just walk up, go, yeah, okay, here you go, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to kill all your army, and you haven't even done anything yet. Yeah, it just sucks. And they had to do something. So fixing devastating wounds so they're not mortals, and fixing it so the worst offenders don't get basically free shots. Yeah, it fixes a lot of problems. Plus, again, making a lot of armies a lot cheaper to play and making some of the more abused units cost a little more to play, and it's worth it. Now, that being said, there are some units that I think were unfairly targeted with that nerfing. there are some units that were made significantly more expensive because they're seeing them being used in every army that plays them. Well, unfortunately, that's not a reflection of them being too good for points. That's a reflection of them being a lot of crap in that army, and the rest of the meta. That's the only way you can deal with it. Case in point, Bellicor. Bellicor was not cheap to begin with. He was adequately priced, but because of the way Eldar armies are shooting and some of the shootiest armies are shooting, and the fact that demons don't have any shooting at all, other than a couple of greater demons and flamers, they were absolutely victimized by shooting armies. So you put Bellicor in because he makes a significant portion of your army unable to be shot unless you're within 12 of them. Given the way the game is played right now, I mean, I know a lot of people are like, well, that means I'm just taking less figures, because the game is still, melee is still rather weak, honestly. They still have not made melee very good. It's not, I wouldn't say it's good. I wouldn't even say it. It's average at best. It's not great. I mean, I'm going to leave it at just that. It's not great. So when you're playing a demon army, you're literally committing to, yeah, I'm playing melee. And you're playing melee, you're taking Bellicor. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're taking Bellicor. Because without him, your army's going to get shot off the table before you get even to the opponent to melee them. Bellicor gives you a fighting chance. So you play Bellicor. Well, a lot of people I know that are playing demons, like, I mean, you don't have a choice. And the named Keeper of Secrets, she's still, even though she went up pretty significantly in points, what she does for your army, again, she's still significantly needed. I don't know what she does, to be honest, because I don't play demons. I only played them in Age of Sigmar. I don't know what she does, but I do know that talking to, again, demon players that I know that play them, if you're playing the army that uses her, she's kind of necessary. You can't just, well, is there a replacement for her? No, you're playing her and you're playing Bellicor. So, okay, she's more expensive. I hope they make enough points to make up not having her on the table, or to not being able to pay as much, to have to pay more for her. I know what I meant. And if not, well, I guess I'm going to have less figures on the army because she's too necessary. Is that their goal? Hey, we're not necessarily going to fix things, everything, but we're going to make it so, it's more expensive. It's not going to change the army you play. It's just going to change it's not going to change the commanders you play. It's just going to change who the lesser figures are. Nurglings are still amazing. Apparently, horrors are still just as good as they were before. Demon armies are still, they're okay. They're like, we have to pay more for the guys that we have to have in our army to make it playable. So we'll see. We have to get a couple events in with the new point listings. Now, I have a critique about a local event, but you can apply it to any event you have in your area. You think about it, and you think about how events play. Now, it's one thing if you're playing casually with your friends, and like, hey, these new rules came out. Let's use them right away. Cool. Let's get right off the bat and start getting used to playing the new rules. Get our reps in. Cool. I totally down with that. Even though, oh yeah, we were planning on doing this 2 weeks ago and we're still doing it today. Yeah, the rules changed. So, hey, new rules came down. Try and change your army to meet up with that. Okay, cool. We'll get with that. There was an event that happened here locally. The rules came down on Thursday, and the event was Saturday. And rather than reaching out to the individual players or saying anything, the event organizers noted on the game store's website that they're going to use the new rules. And from the way I understand it, they noted it Friday morning. May have been Thursday night, but it sounds like it was more like it was Friday morning. So the idea of, hey, we're doing a tournament in 2 days that we've been prepping for a month, 2 days before the event, or more accurately, a day before the event. We're going to change the rules. And we're going to assume that everybody just reads our website and will be ready for that. And if they're not ready, they can make changes to their lists day of, morning of the event, as people are checking in. As people are checking into the event, they are confirming that, yeah, the new points values came down on Thursday. Those are going to be the points we're using today. And I had 2 friends that went to this event. I wanted to go to the event. I really wanted to go to the event, but I was already working, so I couldn't go. So my 2 friends that went, one of them took his Votan army. And luckily, he had the entirety of his Votan with him. So he was able to go out to his car and grab the nearly 400 points that he had to add back into his army. Yeah. Yeah, literally they changed it like day of. Like day before officially, I guess. But like one of my guys was playing Votan, he literally had to go out to his car. He luckily had his figures with him, and he was able to go get and make up it was like 360 points or 365 or something. He had to make up that he had been down. Luckily, he had his all stuff with him, and he was able to do it. But my other buddy that was scheduled to go, he walks up, and he's playing Tyranids, but he's not playing little nids. He's playing all Monster Mash Tyranids. He's got a good army, but he's playing what up? So he's playing a Monster Mash Tyranids army. And he's 175 points over. Because every single model that he had went up a couple points here and there. So, I mean, that's a formal Baltimore ingredient. Well, I only know 2 people from Baltimore that I know of. So is that Rob? Because if it's not Rob, I don't know who the other one is. I don't want to talk about who the other one is. You're a Baltimorean. Okay, well, I'll let you be a Baltimorean. But I'm good with that. Baltimorean. Baltimorean sounds better. I like that one. I'm going to call my cousin that. I got a cousin who's a Baltimorean. I got a cousin who's one of them. He's a music teacher. That's hilarious. Anyhow, so yeah, he shows up in because they didn't tell him, man, and he's not a web guy. He's really not. Like, if anybody that I know is not on the web, in this day and age, he's it. He is. I don't want to call him media illiterate, but he doesn't care. He doesn't read. He doesn't read websites. He doesn't read blogs. Um, if he goes on the internet, he's going there for a specific purpose to get information on a figure or get information on an army specific, or to get a recipe for something he wants to cook. But he basically doesn't go on the internet. He's not one of these guys that goes out on the internet. I mean, it's just who he is. And so he shows up at this event and he's being told, well, he's got to cut 170 points off his army. And he doesn't have anything else with him. He doesn't have any of his other figures with him. So, I mean, what do you do at that point? Well, I appreciate you, Glamour Smash. I appreciate you greatly. So, I want to say we are about a little over 30 minutes in. If you all give me a like, appreciate you. Get me those likes on that algorithm, so that maybe YouTube tells me that they like me and they promote me a little bit when somebody look for some of the same things that are like what I'm doing. I need to be better about throwing hashtags and tags in on my videos, but the other stuff still holds true. So yeah, it's just one of those. If anybody ever wants to hold an event, I thought it was standard. Seriously, and I guess it's because I've been involved in running Warp Storm to an extent. I mean, I've been involved in the planning process. I've been involved in some of the plotting process. I've been involved in judging, and I've played a lot of them. That and we took a lot of our cues from what big events did. And so that was the standard. So that being the standard, having somebody go, no, we're going to change. You're going to switch your list up today. That was like, oh, that's what it is. Hey, Roxy, I didn't even realize it was you. I didn't realize that was your screen name. My God. How are you, sweetie? I didn't even realize that was you. Hey, I got to get this out to you. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Look at this, Roxy. I want to show this to you. This guy is coming for you. I am sending this to you so that you get a replacement for your stuff. At least this is what I can offer for now. I'm going to go through some other boxes if I have some other stuff. This is a mech with the weird gun, the warp gun, the warp lightning gun. You can tell by that pinwheel of lightning in the middle there. You can see it's where he's sucking a grot into the tube and he's shooting out warp balls of warp. Yeah, shock attack, and that's it. The shock attack. I've got an extra one of these, and this is coming to you. To make up for some of your lost figures. It's what I have I can spare. And like I said, I got to go through my box. Go through my box, see if I have any other kits that I'm not already got plans for, or I don't need, like any extra kits I've got. And if I've got some extra bits, I do have a special gift that'll be coming with him for you. I'm going into my retro box for you very specifically, Roxy, my dear. And I'll be giving you a 5-man squad. So you have to get 5 guys to go with them, unfortunately. But I will be sending you a 5-man squad of 2nd edition Orc Boys out of the original starter box and 5 Gretchen out of that same box. Yeah, those are all coming for you, sweetheart. Look, that's, you're one of the coolest people around. So anybody that doesn't know, Roxy had a household accident. Was it over the winter, I think it was? And Roxy lost their army. And Roxy is a great lover of orcs. So Mythos is organizing a community come together, which I love those kind of things because it is community that makes this game as good as it is. So we are big wog for our sweetheart Roxy. We're going to be sending you a little box of orc stuff, and if you want bits, I've probably got a pretty big box of just bits that you can get other pieces out of that I'm not going to use. I'll dig out my orc bits box and just kind of throw them all in the box together, so you'll get the actual models and then just a box of bits for you to dig and kit bash stuff together if you want that. If you don't want it, tell me. But if you do, I'll throw that in the box for you. I'm going to get those all out to you, Roxy. So if anybody wants to help support that and help out poor Roxy here, go out to the Frosted Fist. Mythos did a video on it. I did send that STL to Freak of the 3 grots in the trench coat. That STL did make its way to Freak. So I did already I was talking to Freak and he's got a 3D printer that's working. I got to get mine up and going. But what he did was, because he knows I help curate an STL archive that's controlled by another entity, but I help curate it and get it into the hands of the right people and back up certain parts of it locally. So if something should happen to it, I can help get it restored. Well, I gave him access to a large portion of. All right, well then you got it, sweetheart. I'll grab out my box of bits and they'll be all yours. I want them out of my house anyhow, so I've been giving away my marine bits left and right. So I will throw those orc bits in the box for you. It's probably the bits from probably 5 or 6 boys box, 5 or 6 Burna Boy boxes, extra bits there, extra. I mean, it's It's my Orc's Army's extra bits, so it's a ton of crap. So it'll be your jam, and you'll enjoy it. It'll be great. I love it. Yes, it's an STL. It's a classic STL, or it's three grots in a trench coat pretending to be a marshal for the for the thing. Yes, your drawing though. If you have that drawing, I mean, didn't you sell that drawing? But I mean, yeah, I mean, we can get our set that over there. Yeah, I know you did that. I don't know where you have that. Lady D had a commission, a commissar. That's Lady D had a commission a couple years back where she sold a copy of Three Gots in a Trench Coat pretending to be a commissar. So it's pretty hilarious. So you guys are seeing the ridiculously stupid and easy way I paint my Necrons. I'm going to make a video about this, but it's literally the dumbest process. Like, any real painter would look at me and be like, really? Really? That's what you do to make your Necrons? Because it's cheap, it's easy, it's very uneven, so they look kind of banged up and rusty and janky, and I like it because that's what I'm going for. So I don't know if I talked to you guys about this. Let me talk about this. So we take our Necron models. We prime them in black. Good old black. Hang on, he's got a foot loose. I'm going to drop a little glue down on that foot. Buttered sausage. Yeah, no, I don't know. But I know Gary Busey's a messed up individual, so that's fine. So, and literally all I do with these things for their base coat, I prime them black. I put some a little bit of lead belcher on the brush. I brush some of it off, and I just give them a thorough overbrush in lead belcher. So they're obviously very metallic, but the black still kind of shows through in a lot of spaces. I don't get it into the cracks and crevices. It's just on the surface. And after the first coat dries, if I think they're too dark or they're not metallic enough, if not enough metallic ended up on them to make them still look like, still code as metal, I'll go back in like I did with some of those scarabs you saw when I first showed up here. I may give them a second coat, but it's a very quick and sloppy method, and I'm not trying to make them perfect. I want them to look a little patchy. I want them to look beat up. But I mean, that's it. They're lead belcher, and there's more I do to them, but that's like 90% of the paint job right there. As I get 90% of the body with that right there, it makes them look worn, it makes them look old, it makes them look weathered, and then I'll go back in with like an ochre, like a yellow, not a brown ochre, but a yellow ochre, and I'll hit the parts that I want to make really bright in the bright green, and I'll just take a very fine detail brush and go over the parts I want with that, and then I take the this stuff, the Tesseract Glow, after I've shaken the heck out of it, and I put that on the parts that I want to be super green and shiny. And then I take some Castellan bronze and I hit some of the armor plates with it in the same sketchy kind of just barely brushing it on their style. and they're done. Then I just put basing material on them, and they're done. That's it. And the more important, the more higher ranked they are, the more bronze they get on them. That's it. But that way, don't look like they're tied to any one specific dynasty, and they look grubby and dark. And since their basing is muddy and dirty and wet and very green and overgrown in places, because they're supposed to look like they're coming out of an Endor like planet. Their tomb world is an Endor, just this great Pacific Northwest, you know, pine wetlands type of world. It makes painting them, and they still look really good. Like I've got a bunch of them already done. I've got like a bunch. They just go quickly. I mean, I'm just sitting here knocking these out, and this is since we've sat down in an hour. I've already done just the silver undercoat on them. Like 20 of these figures already. Individually, these will not be contest-winning figures. These will not be, oh my God, this one figure is so awesome. Yes, I miss Tin Bits. Tin Bits dry brush with Bolka metal dry brush. It does hit different. I gotta tell you, I got a chance to mess a little bit with Duncan Two Coats, the famous painter, Duncan Two Coats. I got a chance to mess with his metallics a little bit. And he's closer. He's closer than Leadbelcher. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of Leadbelcher. I really, really love Leadbelcher. Like, straight up. But his middle tone metallic is very much, it's very much very close to bolt gun steel. It's actually even closer to not to bolt gun, not the bullet shaped ones, but the ones before that, the little the pill popper types, the ones that were the long tubes with the white flip tops, which I believe that was called. I think that was called rugged chainmail or just chainmail. I think rugged chainmail was the darker version. It was rugged chainmail, and there was chainmail, and then you want to date yourself. I remember the Ralpartha paints, and they had the coat, the same that uses the coat to arms paint pots. Yes, those original paint pots. Those are what I started. That's what they were selling when I first got into it, and they weren't as funny when I first started getting into painting. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, Citadel paints were not highly regarded because they were so watery, because we had to get them from overseas. So everybody I knew, but everybody I knew used the old Ralpartha paints, where the Ralpartha paints, I don't know if anybody remembers those pots. Those pots, those stayed sealed forever. Like, they were good forever because they were so wide. I mean, those pots were probably, I want to say, if you know how big a regular GW pot is, they were probably as big around as the Vallejo wash bottle, but the top of the cap was probably where the top of the label is. They were those short, fat bottles, and like half the bottle top. The top, I mean, the inside nozzle all the way up. The cap was deep, so it came off, had a really great seal. Yeah, and the bottles were thick. The paint was thick. You had to walk. You had to thin the crap out of Ralph Partha paints. You had to water the crap out of them. But man, did they have a great paint, because they were designed for D&D, because they were doing the D&D figures before here in the States, so they had all the different, paints. Man, they used to have a set of opalescent paints. Yeah, you did. You really did. Like, I miss them so much. And they would sell kits. They were like one of the first ones I knew that sold kits that weren't just basic color kits. They had a pastel kit, and I remember the pastel kit specifically because when I first did my first army after I did my high elves. Now I did my high elves in the classic white and blue. But when I did my first army after that, I was doing Slanesh. And I did them all in the Ralph Partha pastel colors. There are some in the Reaper Master series I'm very fond of. The problem is there's not a lot of places in town that carry them much anymore. I know of like 2 places in the whole area that carry them. Not a lot do. Like they have a blue. They have a really dark blue, and I can't remember the name of it. I have the bottle stashed specifically because it's a very dark blue, and I only used it for a couple things. But that really dark blue I use specifically to rim the bases of all my orcs because I really liked it. Was like even slightly darker than a navy blue. It was almost like a midnight blue. And since my orcs are Death Skulls, I wanted to rim them blue, and I just had that paint. I pulled it first. I'm like, oh, I like this color. So my orcs are all rimmed in this really, really dark, like dark navy blue, and it's just a great paint. And they have a magenta that I think it's called Wild Magenta. It's just this eye-searingly bright magenta. It's such a good color for like using it for when you want. Like, it's like it makes Chaos Pink look bland. It's so of a color, but it's so thin. It's like a glaze, so you can paint something like with pink and then glazes over it, and it just makes the whole thing just jump out. Such a great color. But the problem is you just can't. You'd have to order them direct. And as much as I like Reaper, I hate their figures. Like I don't like that plasticky crap, that rubbery plastic crap they make a lot of their figures out of. Now their signature series I like because I still like metal miniatures. But I mean they do a lot of that plasticky crap, especially everything on their Bone series or in that rubbery plastic. I just don't like that. I don't like the feel of it. So I don't order direct. I try to just go to the stores I know that have the paints I like. And it's funny because, you hear a lot of like pro painters like, on the GW paints. They're full of shit. I'm sorry. I personally know a few pro painters, the bigger names, like people like Squidmar and people like, Travarian. They use GW paints. Like, these are great paints. They're good paints. They are good paints. And their shades are pretty much second to none. There are some other paints that I do like more than them in some colors. Like, I gotta admit, freaking Army Painter's matte black is probably my favorite black that I've ever painted with. And normally I'm not a crazy fan of Ralph Partha. I mean, of Army Painter, but their matte black is something special. I really like their matte black. I like their speed paints to a point. I like their washes; they're good when you use them. But I like their speed paints. I'm a big fan of the speed paints, as long as I'm not trying to do something bright. If I'm trying to do something like drab and dark and dreary, they're great. They don't really do bright colors really well. Yeah, the bone stuff is just kind of Vallejo is still my choice. Vallejo was doing. I found out something like there was such a period of time when Vallejo wasn't getting paints over it. Everybody was like, "Are they out of business? We can't get anything." Found out Vallejo was not going out of business. They just used a lot of time during the pandemic to like remaster their paint formulas and remaster a lot of the deficiencies they saw in their paints. And they were dishing out all their paints to get them out of stock and basically reformulating and relabeling, rebranding their new paints. So they've got a whole new line of paints coming out. They're going to have new labels, and I've seen a couple of people that I know trying them out, and they look good. Like, their military paints were already amazing. Their game colors are kind of Their game colors are really good now. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They went to that. They went to clear bottles. So you can clearly see the paint you're getting out of them, which I appreciate big time. But like the Duncan Academy paints, those are pretty good paints. I like them. They're very reminiscent of like a cross between the coat to arms and the Citadel bullet paints. They're very much a cross between those two lines. He is very much the way he was, and that's nothing wrong with his paint style. A lot of people do that. I love his paint style. I'm not down for doing the way he does things on every model. But he does use the 3-color, the dark, mid-tone, light of shade of every single paint. So every paint has 3 shades to it: a dark, a mid-tone, and a light. And that fits to his painting style, and that's cool. I dig that. Monocolor's great. I love Vallejo. Vallejo is probably, if nothing else, Vallejo's bottle design just by itself. They have them and Army Painter nailed it on the dropper bottles. I mean, they're good size dropper bottles. They're not little dropper bottles. They're long, narrow dropper bottles, so it's easy to get just a couple drops out. You don't have to squeeze the crap out of them. I've heard people talk about P3. I've tried P3 paints. I'm like, I don't know if they're worth the extra money. They're kind of okay to me. They're not bad. They're just like, are they really that different to me? Maybe to some people they are. I know Lady D swears by P3 paints for the couple that she uses. To me, I don't know if they're worth the extra money. When I'm fine with using cheap ass paints. I mean, there are pieces that I use. There are pieces that I specifically use, like cheap ass craft paints for like bigger pieces because they do what they need. Green Stuff World overpriced in a lot of their cases, but some of their stuff is amazing. So I can't completely discount them. Some of their stuff is really great. I'm just looking right here. What do I got around me? Oh, the big hack I've done lately. I've been doing a lot lately. Because I get a discount on paint prices, I have been getting Citadel's Air paints. So they're the same pigment as a paint of the same color. Like, what I got? I got it right here. Here we go. Rust Gray. So Air paint, Rust Gray. So this is the same cost as a regular small bottle, maybe a little bit more, but not much more, as a regular bottle. It's already thinned, but it's got an increased pigment count. So I don't have to thin it out as much. And so I don't feel as pressured to break out the wet palette. I mean, I use wet palettes now and again, but it's funny. There was a while there where I was using wet palettes on everything I did. I was wet palette. And I've kind of moved back from that again. I'm back to my more sketchier style where I'm using the pot. I go straight from the pot. I just take a little tiny dab, rub it off on some paper towel in front of me, and then go into the figure with it. And it gets me the sketchy type of look I'm looking for, which fits the style I'm painting with. And I know not everybody digs that style. It's not everybody's jam. but I'm not painting these for everybody. I'm painting them for me. So it works for me. And that way I get the models I want. Now, admittedly, I can't use it for all paints. Like I don't do that with I don't end up doing that with contrasts. And I keep palettes around for dropper bottles when I'm using, say, speed paints or I'm using Vallejos. And like I'll put a couple drops of paint in, maybe put a drop of medium, and then go to painting with it and do it the same way. But I don't know, with the sketchy way that I paint, in that kind of very grimy, sketchy style, this has been working for me. It's been working well. Like I said, I've cranked out a ton of figures this year so far. I'm really hammering through my backlog. My goal is to get through a significant amount of it, and I have already this year. And it's just funny because I realize I have a really massive backlog. So we might be into year 2 of minimal figure purchases. And that's the thing. I try to promote that when I talk to people like that. They get like, "Oh, my army's not even painted. Oh, your army looks so good." I'm like, "My army's painted like shit. Don't. Oh, looks so good. It looks okay. It's certainly not pro painted, but it looks good because it's done, and that's the issue. I go through and I make sure they all look good enough. They all look the same. I've got the lines cleaned up. They don't look bad. They don't look icky. I don't have just paint slopped anywhere. I'm not like paint. I mean, there's still some technique to the way I'm painting. Yeah, and that's the thing. The sketchy, when you get sketchy, I mean, when I'm done painting, when I got a little bit more done painting, when I got this batch done of my Necrons, that's going to be like 99% of my Necrons. I think the only thing I got left to do is I got a set of bikes that I'm waiting on the third bike to get, so I can do all 3 bikes. And then the remaining of my flayed ones. Don't worry, I'm not getting back on that rant, but oh, I gotta paint those remaining flayed ones. I gotta finish building them. But when I'm done, I'm gonna do like a video, kind of like a video review of the entirety of my Necron Tomb World, because I've got some terrain that I've custom printed and built that was gonna go to a friend of mine as a gift for Christmas, and then he moved out of state and sold his army, and he doesn't play 40K anymore. So I'm going to use it to make a display board, because it's a destroyed Necron. It's a blown open Necron tomb with some giant Necron statues and some pillars and stuff with it. I printed out a bunch of stuff and I cut a bunch of foam blocks, and I really kind of set up. I was going to build him like a centerpiece for his table that he was trying to build. I'm kind of thankful I didn't give it to him, because literally the time it would have been ready, he moved out of state like 3 months before it was going to go. It was like I was still cutting pieces and putting it together. And it was just about done doing the cutting, about to start assembly. And it's like, yeah, I got to move out of state. He moved down to Oklahoma and he sold his entire army and he got out of 40K. He's still a cool guy. He just, because of the reality of him being kind of a gypsy, and I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I mean, he moves from place to place a lot. So the classic traveling gypsy. He just doesn't have the ability, and I shouldn't have to explain that, being that I am of gypsy blood. But, whatever. I know some people get really offended by some of the weirdest things. It's like, wait a minute, I am a gypsy. Shut up. I'm not offended. Anyhow, so he travels around a lot. So he just didn't have the place to keep his models. And when he wasn't here, because he didn't know anybody where he was, because he was down south, he didn't really know of anybody, and not in a good, not. I mean, he was in like Oklahoma and Arkansas. He didn't know anybody else that played that game, so he found somebody on Marketplace and sold them off, and that was that. So anyhow, yeah, you be offended. Nomad. He's a nomad. No, because he's family to me. So he's a gypsy. Because all of us gypsies are related. So yeah, it's just and that's exactly it. I've seen people that are like, okay, look, I'm gonna play with these today. And like literally, it's bases with the legs glued on. The rest of the figure isn't even built. The rest of the figure isn't built, or they have them built and they're not primed, and the arms have the magnets on the shoulders for like the army they're playing, and they've got the arms over here. They're not. They're. I'm building them separately, and they're still on the sprue. But yeah, I put the magnets in. Really? You didn't even drill. You just kind of glued them on there. Yeah, I kind of need to take them back off and redo it. Yeah, you do. It's funny stuff like that. Yeah, for me, it's my biological father. So much for a goddamn gypsy. You forgot to stick around for when I was born. Go figure. Not that that's a stereotype of my people, but damn, dude, you could have at least been there. Oh, shit. Where did my glue? Oh, I gotta go get my super glue. I'll go get it later. My super glue's all gone. All my good sniffing glue is gone. I don't have any more sniffing glue. Damn it. I guess I've been sniffing it too much. Yeah. Oh, sweetie, you're pregnant. Hang on, let me go get you something from the store. What? I don't know. I'll be back. Really? Just don't wait up. uh, so yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's the thing. It's like I get them built. I throw the primer on them, and then I just try to get this through there. And that's what I think. I think, you know, there are some armies, and I can definitely see if you're one of those people that you want to go nuts on your army, go nuts, go absolutely nuts. I will do that for some of my armies. Case in point, this is the chariot for Logan Grimnar. And I am spending extra time on him. And I still have some details to work out in here. I did a little bit of his dashboard. You might be able to see some of the detail in there. I got a little bit more to do. I want to go in and do some of the runes and do a little bit more highlighting here and there. But he's good. Yeah, I kind of dig that too. That's one of the things I like about the gray you use. Like, you look at that thing, it's like, is that painted? Yeah, it's painted. It's bluish gray. I used to be like, oh, it's got to be that robin's egg blue. And then I've realized I let my stuff get a little darker so you can see it in the highlights. Like, there's some edge highlighting on there. You can definitely see it's that robin's egg blue. But underneath, it's definitely like this much darker. Like, I love, like, again, Fenrisian blue and a Fenrisian gray and rust gray. That's it. Primed black, dry brushed like 4 different layers in the rust gray, and then one highlight in Fenrisian gray, washed in Agrax, and then a little bit of edge highlighting in the Fenrisian gray. Yeah, that's the thing. I used to think I was more into the really bright, like because I've got a bunch of my Primaris ones. They're that really bright, the classic '90s eggshell, robin eggshell blue Marines, and I love that color. But a 2,000 point, um, after painting up a 2,000 point Heresy Wolves army, I was like, no, I kind of like the darker gray. I like the bluish gray more than I like the gray. Like the Heresy gray, there's no blue gray to it. It's all straight. It's like my wolves, they start in black and then they're brought up with Necromancer Cloak, which is an army painter gray that's a really dark gray. Like, it's darker gray than any of the grays that GW makes. Like, it's so close to black. It's noticeable next to black, but if you looked at it, you'd think it was like a sun bleach. Like, it's the color if you had a black cloak and washed it a couple times and left it in the sun, they would get that slightly grayish. It's like, oh, it was black, but now it's gray. That's the color of gray it is. So they're that color, and then I highlighted them with like Dawnstone, which is still a really dark gray, but that's their highlight color. So they're dark gray, and then really bright Mephiston red. Actually, it's corn red, and then highlighted with Mephiston red for the red bits, and then I used Skullcrusher brass for all the gold bits, because I love that brassy, that really, as you can see here, because it's the same brassy gold I use on the head there, that warm brassy gold. It's this stuff right here. Yeah, Skullcrusher brass. Skullcrusher brass is such a good color. Yeah, and that's the thing. And that's the thing. I use that bright red with the deep gray, and then the brassy gold that is Skullcrusher brass. It's this very rich. And again, they're one of the armies that I don't use any null oil with them. When I use anytime I use any type of wash with them, I specifically use Agrax because I want to have more of an earthy, dirty, grimy look to them, because these guys are just like, we're battling, man. We're just in it. Let's go. Let's just go. So I don't use null oil. It's funny. I've found that there's stuff I use null oil for, but it's often like not nearly as much as I use. I use a lot more Agrax. Like, anytime I'm working with an earth tone, obviously I'm going to use Agrax. Anytime I'm working with a warm tone, I'm going to use Agrax, or I'm going to use Seraphon Sepia. Anytime I'm working with like even a cold tone, anytime I'm working with a blue, I should say, I use Agrax. It just looks better. I only really use it on silver metallics. I'll use it if I want a clean looking metallic. Like, I want to have some distinct color variation in there, but I still want the silver to come through. Then I'll use null oil. Or if I'm working with green, oddly enough, when I work with green, I don't like the Agrax because it makes it look green look too muddy. Unless I'm looking for like a muddy green, like on my Death Guard, I'll use Agrax on them. But if I'm doing like my orcs are funny, because I do them in very stark tones. I do them in very, very bright, super bright colored tones, and then hit them with Null Oil, and then go back and highlight them again because I want it to look. Because I can't paint the style to make them look like cell shaded, but if I make them super bright without a lot of shading, and then hit them with the Null Oil, and then go back and use that bright tone again, it makes them almost look cell shaded. So my orcs almost look like cartoon characters. That's by design. I wanted them to look like the orcs from Warcraft. To be honest, I want them to look like video game figures. So there's very definitely this distinct brightness to their tone. And when I work with purple, I don't like my purples getting dirty. Whenever I want to use a purple, I want my purple to look clean. It's a weird thing with me because I love purple. So I'm going to either use a Null Oil in very small quantities and only in recess shade only, like use a fine line brushing it in there, or I'm going to actually use like a purple shade to just make the darker parts darker. Yeah, it's just a thing for me. Like, I don't have a lot of purple in my armies. Admittedly, I have some. My Stormcast has a buttload of purple. I was trying to paint everything purple at one point, as my wife makes fun of me. I have two armies that have a significant amount of purple in them. My Storm... No! Get down! I have my Stormcast are silver armor, purple cloaks, anything cloth on them is purple. Their armor is all silver, and any feathers or fur they have is bright green. And then anytime there's a lightning bolt or a sunshade, anything that's one of their heraldry pieces, that gets a dry brush of gold on the silver. But the armor itself is all silver. I didn't want to just make them all bright gold. And then my Tau, I think everybody's seen my Tau, where they're white, and I put purple on them, but the purple's not shaded. It's just purple put on top of the white, in where the white's been undershaded, so that there's some depth to it. But yeah, no, I'm like my purple's clean, especially my Tau. My Tau army is really oddly, it's a super clean look to them. Like when I painted them, I primed them all in a good white, dunked them all basically in Null Oil, then went back with Oothian Gray and cleaned them all up. Like I spent a lot of time on each individual figure, cleaning up each figure individually, and then went in with using Oothian Gray because it's a better white than white for cleanup. Because it reads as, if you look at Oothian Gray next to white, it's gray. You put Oothian White next to any color, it's white. So because it reads as white next to colored figures, and it's a lot smoother than Korax White or White Scar, I like it a lot more. So all of my Tau have a ton of purple all over them. But like my orcs are traditional blue. My wolves are obviously my wolf colors. My knights are all color shifting paints and bright Corvette red. Like Corvette candy apple red that's been gloss coated. My Nurgle armies are Nurgle green. And my guards green. I have more green than I have anything else in my army, which is funny to me. My wife always makes fun of the fact that, if I had my choice, I'd paint it purple. which she's not wrong. It is my favorite color. But again, there is a joy to just getting them painted, guys. So, some final thoughts for the night as we get close to the 9 o'clock hour. Again, if anybody has any spare work figures or spare work bits or whatnot, go to Frost and Fist here on YouTube. There is a video by Frost and Fist where they're talking about they're putting together a big box of stuff to send to Roxy. And if you've got work stuff to spare, get the information from Mythos. We're going to pack it all up and we're going to send it over to Roxy and get her a new army. If you haven't seen her stuff on Frost and Fist, which luckily everybody here pretty much has, she's a fantastic painter. She's a fantastic player. She's a fantastic person. Good person. Great to talk to. I love talking to her in chats. And I love that, people show up and talk tonight. I appreciate the upvotes. Appreciate coming everybody in. Love you all so much. I want you nothing but the best. And just a quick reminder, that football season is on. So if you're not a football fan or you're not from the United States and so you're like, what does this have to do with soccer? Just remember the game is called soccer because it's not really football. Football is American football and it's a real game, not just a bunch of guys running around the field kicking a stupid checker ball. That being said, it's football season, so my output's going to go up because I'm going to be here watching games all days on Sunday. So I might actually start doing some live streams on Sundays while I'm watching games and painting figures. I might throw on a F it and see what's going on. And I want to thank you all for coming in. Roxy, thank you so much. Mr. Fish, thank you so much. My lovely wife, thank you for sticking around. I appreciate all of you for coming here. Who else? Who else actually stuck around? They didn't say nothing. They were quiet. That's okay. You want to be quiet? You be quiet. You do your own thing. But the three of that were talking with me. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. And just remember, play some games, build some figures, paint some figures, enjoy the hobby. And until next week, game on.